Welcome to the 9642 podcast. This is your host, Mr. Number 9.
And this is The Fool.
Thank you, everyone. We are back in the podcast business and we are back in our bread and butter, the Premier League and the Champions League. And not in that order. Like, the opposite order. Like, I should have totally said that the other way around. Well, like, both have been incredibly unpredictable this season. Unmissable, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's been riveting stuff. It's just been, say, onto websites all the time, keeping track, watching the games. It's just been amazing. It's say, into the seat stuff. Everything's been all around the place. And it's just been hard to predict week to week who's going to do well. And we've got teams like Brentford just absolutely nailing it still. You may have thought that the first week was against Arsenal
we have a team from a country that technically doesn't exist, who went to beat the mighty Real Madrid. I don't think anything is out of the.
That's the ultimate David and Goliath story, right? Like the team that's won the Champions League the most in the history of the Champions League versus a team that doesn't even have a country.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Absolutely. We should move on to what happened, like Champions League, which has been incredible. So we've at Paris Saint-Germain has looked absolutely incredible. I think in the Champions League so far. After their initial draw, that game against City, they've shown that they know how to win it tough. I think they've kind of guaranteed. It would be incredible if Manchester City didn't go out of the group stage. If Club Brugge somehow kept them down, because that happens in Champions Leagues when you get the order fall out like that. Because City also have to play Leipzig, which is not an easy club to play. Because Leipzig's gonna at least try to go for a third place spot to get into a Europa. So that group has already become tougher. But it looks like Club Brugge, who we kind of picked as the potential down team, are gonna go ahead. Maybe,
yeah. Yeah, I think I'd still put City is more favourites to do it because they're still going to play for like Bruges is still going to play City.
Yeah.
So, but that could be an interesting game there. And see how that definitely will.
If they draw, if they get to draw City at home and maybe get another draw against one of the big clubs at home, that's or even a sneaky win. That's them to the next round, isn't it? Almost. A draw and a good draw against one of those teams and a sneaky win, basically.
Yeah. Well, they're on 4 points. They give another 4 points. That'd be 8. Might need to sneak another draw in there just to go undefeated through the group stage to get it through. Because it depends what you say. He's still got Leipzig. He's got lots to play for because they can't get out of this. So it depends on how the other games all fall out a little bit. So you might be right. 8 points might be just enough to.
I'm assuming Leipzig will get a point out. Manage to get a point and a win against one of the City. One of those two, City or Paris Saint-Germain. Just because they're gonna play games at home, and like I said, they're gonna be vehemently wanting to get at least third place. Yes, City might even have a fight in their hands with Leipzig for third. Following on from that, the next group, Liverpool look imperious, I think.
Oh, yeah.
They're gonna obviously play Atletico, and that'll probably decide it in the end. But yeah, and Atletico, I think, have shown why we consider them to be second favorite here. And
yeah,
Porto, AC Milan, it's really tough to pick. Both clubs had been pretty poor. It'll depend on how they play out. Maybe that point by Porto is gonna end up being vital.
Yeah.
Getting a point against Atletico. The other side of it, Ajax Amsterdam, am looking incredible, and we picked this, I think. that they were going to do well. Borussia Dortmund also looking really good. I think those two are running out there. Sporting are in dire shambles, lots of issues off the field as well. So I think Besiktas might manage to hold on to third.
Yeah. Let's
Now,
say that.
obviously, the informed team,
Oh
Sheriff
yeah.
Tiraspol,
Yeah. Sure. Woo.
and I think Sheriff don't even have both their wins have been away from home.
Yeah.
From
Exactly. They haven't played home yet.
So they have nothing to fear from this group. If they get 2 points at home from Inter and Real,
Yeah.
uh, doable, and I think they can probably look. They've played well enough. Their coach knows how to play tactically. They can probably beat Shakhtar Donetsk or one of those
I
two
think
again. Like,
I definitely think they can get at least one win out of the two games they're going to get them yet. So
yeah, and I think basically 9 points should be enough. 9 points, and
yeah,
maybe if they can manage to not lose a game at home, that should be enough to get them through. Top of the group
should be.
as well, by the way, not just
Yeah.
through.
Oh yeah, exactly. The one more
So
win is or couple of draws is enough to get them through. But I
yeah,
think a win and a draw, and that's pretty much guaranteed them top spot, which is pretty awesome.
it could be incredible because they might end up placing someone like Club Brugge if they are second from Group A, which could
Oh
be
yeah,
their reward. Which would be for either of those two clubs, it'd be like a great reward. I think.
yeah,
You know, Bayern Munich, yeah, they're favorites
yeah,
for a reason, so they're
yeah,
showing
yeah.
why. And Benfica, I think,
Ooh,
looking really good as well. Managing to beat Barcelona, like who are not great.
no,
Barcelona, I think, are just out of it now. I think Dynamo Kiev's gonna manage to get third place here. Sorry, Barca fans, but I think your tournament's looking over.
they're just not looking good at all.
Yeah. Now, Manchester United managed to sneak a win from Villarreal.
Yeah,
Disappointing loss to Young Boys, I should mention.
yeah.
And Atalanta on top of the table. I would not be surprised if Atalanta just stayed top of the table. Obviously, I think United are going to beat Young Boys to second place, but not
Mm,
guaranteed. United might be lucky to get a Europa spot, and if they are, I'll be honest here, Liverpool look better than them in the league, and we are gonna get into this. Liverpool, Chelsea, and City, I think, have all look better than Manchester United, so they should be targeting the Europa League because they're not even guaranteed fourth necessarily, I think.
yeah. Could be
So
problematic for them.
it's a tough time for United. Next group, FC Salzburg. There's at least one Red Bull team who are looking good in the Champions League.
Yeah,
So they've managed to get 4 points. Good on them. They're probably at least second here looking at this group. They've probably
yeah.
points in the bag, as we know, is better than having them in games in hand or whatever.
Yeah.
And in this situation, Lille disappointing after being champions of France and
I was,
the first title in ages, but yeah, and Wolfsburg and Sevilla, I don't think Sevilla are just so canny in Europe, right? I think they're gonna end up topping the group anyway, just because they're just so experienced in European
yeah,
football
yeah,
that,
yeah.
and heck, if they do finish third, they're gonna win the Europa League, right? Like that's just what happens.
Pretty much, yeah. It seems to be the way of things.
So yeah, Sevilla, they're obviously one of the favorites, I think, from Group G now, and Juve, Chelsea, Zenit, and Malmo. That's because we said that this was a tough group.
Yeah,
Obviously, Juve look incredibly good, back to form. I think
yeah.
fair
No,
to say in Europe, especially.
yeah,
Yeah, Zenit and Chelsea are gonna fight it out for that second spot, and it's tough. I think. Only reason Zenit are behind Chelsea is head to head. I think at the moment, like Chelsea beats Zenit, but it's gonna be
yeah,
potentially tough to beat Zenit at home.
yeah. That is going to be tougher, but hopefully we can do that. And hopeful that we can potentially pick up a win against Juve when we're back at. Oh no, it was at Stamford Bridge as well, wasn't it? Oh no. Okay. Maybe we'll be able to beat Zenit, and then that actually keeps us into the Champions League. But for some reason, I was thinking we'd gone away to Juventus. But I'm pretty sure that was actually at Stamford Bridge. So that was a
Yeah,
disappointing loss.
definitely. I
Yeah.
imagine disappointing for Chelsea fans.
So say for at least one of the two of us in this podcast.
Yes. I think if Chelsea have showed that if they get past the group stage, they're just so canny, and the Champions League just they
Yeah.
can go far. So I still think they're gonna go through. I think it's just gonna be a tough struggle. Especially because you guys are in the hunt for the Champions League spots. You're not just one of those, one of many. You are one of the teams
Yeah.
favorite to win. Sorry, one of the favorites to win the Premier League.
Yeah. Currently on top, so yes.
And I think we can almost say it's entirely City's own fault that you guys are because they didn't buy a striker. No one was forcing them not to buy a striker.
Yeah. They could at least had a backup plan to Harry Kane. I mean,
Yeah, it's just incredible to think that's how it turned up. You obviously, if Harry Kane had gone to Manchester City, the league is over, and
yeah.
and I still stand by that statement. Like, imagine how good Manchester City would be with Harry Kane.
Yeah. Well, just with any proper striker, and Harry Kane's
Yeah,
the obvious one for that. Yeah.
even
Just.
Danny Ings. With no,
Yeah.
no, no, with no
Excellent.
disrespect, because he was one of
No.
the players they were potentially targeting.
Yeah.
He'll be such a useful player to have. Like a great buy by Villa to get him.
Yeah. Oh no. I don't mean disrespect to him either. Just, but you're right. Like, as long as they'd had a striker and a decent striker, Jennings definitely falls into that category of being a
Yeah,
good
yeah, yeah.
striker. Like, it'd just be crazy to see how good they were. And they had picked up 14 goals so far, which is still pretty good. Only Liverpool and Chelsea have scored more than them,
Yes.
and they've only had 3 goals scored against them, which is equal with us for being the stingiest. So, like, fit a few more goals in, suddenly they're crazy scary.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're still crazy scary. Don't get
Oh
me
yes,
wrong, but like they scarier.
yeah. I suppose it is a relative term. But yeah, but no, that said, the season's been so topsy turvy as such, with everybody sort of doing really well and looking pretty scary. And I had an interesting graphic on the news a few weeks back. I think it must have been 5 to 6 weeks with all the changes, and every week there was a different configuration. I think of the top 10 with a different team at the top, the first six. So now we've got the seventh week, and Chelsea's back on top. We're back on top. So yes, but I think the first time it's repeated somebody being on top of the league that had been on top of the league previously. We still haven't got back to back keeping on top, so it's still a wide open league as we hurriedly, rapidly head towards the silly season where all this stuff gets really sorted out. But
Yeah.
it's crazy, right? And I mean, look at it. Brentford seventh, and that's 4 points
And nobody
behind us.
says they don't deserve to be
Oh,
there.
no.
Like nobody's like they're lucky to be seventh. Everybody's like, yeah, Brentford, yeah, seventh,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
exactly. But
that's legit.
that's a win outside the top four. I mean,
Yeah,
it's 2 points, and an extra win. They're in the top four.
yeah,
Like, I mean, that's true down to Tottenham. They're eighth. West Ham's, on 11. Before you get to Aston Villa, Arsenal 10. I mean, that's getting a wider slide of points.
yeah.
That's 2 wins to the top. Before that, that's under 2 wins. Like, say, West Ham's 11, so that's 5 points off us at the top, which is not that large a difference.
Yeah.
So, I mean, starting to spread, but that's still a lot of teams pretty close.
Oh yeah. A lot of teams are legitimately daring to dream
Yeah.
that they will get Champions League spots, not just Europa spots. Like they're competing for Champions League spots, and especially because every clubs like Everton and West Ham and Brentford,
And
they
Brighton.
don't and Brighton, they don't have to worry about playing European football. They're
Yeah, exactly.
even though we had a big rant about Arsenal in the last podcast, famously or infamously, you decide. Why not both? But the thing is, like, the media has basically been going on about, oh yeah, they managed to secure a draw, and that's a good thing. So
Yeah.
that I feel like my rant is still valid.
I'd like to think that our rant helped, that somehow they heard us, and one of the quote unquote many listeners to this podcast
Oh yeah.
happened to put the Arsenal players onto this, and they heard us, and it is key that after our podcast went out, their season has changed.
Oh, hell yes.
So, like, not even when we recorded, when it went out. It was once we'd gone out, after that, their season has turned around. Like, they're undefeated since our podcast. So I don't think it's
Oh, yeah.
different.
So, yeah, Arsenal fans, like, money in the mail, well, like, we accept checks, unlike the banks. Do we accept
Yeah.
checks?
No, I just want hard cash. Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'll take cash in the hand.
Do we take money orders?
Mm,
The post office still technically will cash your money order.
fair enough, then, yeah. Then I'll take that. I'll accept that.
I mean, it's a hassle, don't get me wrong.
Yeah, no. I just, actually, at the moment, maybe not, because I don't know if I can go into a post.
That's right. And cash is, like, really difficult. Damn it.
Let's think about
Bitcoin. We accept Bitcoin.
this. Bitcoin. Yeah.
We're a legitimate business.
Okay. I may have to hit up a few Arsenal fans I know. I'm sure they can.
Yeah, set up a we'll set up a Patreon where you can give us money.
Yeah. We say that half jokingly.
Yes. Yes. Now, looking at the actual table and the upcoming thing, like we're obviously I don't want to talk about the silly season. We are definitely gonna have a thing. Like
Yeah.
Chelsea have shown why we were considering them one of the favorites before the season started. They've leading up to after the international break, and let's just say before the big busy season, like the rest of the month, they have 3 games at home, which is nice. Away to Brentford. I'm imagining they will have a strong away support contingent there. They're playing Malmo at home. Key fixture. Southampton at home, Norwich at home, which is a good, easy one. And I hate to say it for Newcastle fans.
Southampton's the EFL, but yeah.
Yeah, Southampton's an EFL fixture, which I'm not sure how Chelsea feel about the EFL this season.
We'll find out.
And Newcastle at home. So it's very doable. I'd be surprised if they weren't still top of the table leading into November. They've got a couple of tough games in November: Leicester away and United at home, and obviously Juve away. Burnley at home should be doable because I don't think Burnley are that good away from home.
Yeah. Exactly. And say this in October or after the international break, you say it's pretty easy schedule. I mean, the only tough one there, strangely enough, is the Brentford game. And it's definitely going to be that's away, so it's definitely going to be a tough match.
And I think Brentford will back themselves. At least they're going to try and get a get a point, right? I'm sure.
No, it's going to be a super competitive game. It's actually going to be a really fun one to watch. Because that's at Brentford. They're going to be tails up all over it. It's going to be fun to see and see how that goes. Hopeful, but that is a really challenging game.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get the points out of that and keep our run at the top
I think
going.
you guys have the advantage of you're not like Arsenal who were surprised. You're not going to be surprised by, or you hope you're not going to be surprised by Brentford.
They've had a reasonable amount of games to analyze to get to the split, but yeah.
Yeah, the Brentford Community Stadium, their new one, I think that could become a fortress if they survive in the Premier League this season and go on to stay here for a number of seasons. Like Brentford could be the London Stoke from back in a few years ago. But the third place we have another team that's looking fine. Liverpool, they've had a mix, like they went mano a mano with Brentford for some reason instead of just closing them out and playing a sensible football. But like Klopp teams do that. But I think this Liverpool team is arguably as good a team as Klopp's ever had. And they're playing like it too.
Yeah.
So Liverpool have Atletico away, which is a tough fixture. Obviously, a league fixture at Watford and Manchester United, and then they're playing Preston North End. So 4 away fixtures in a row before they play Brighton at home. So it's a tough month.
That is a tough month.
I'm sure Preston. I'm saying it's tough because I don't think Liverpool will play a first team.
No.
They will play youth players and whatnot in that game, and then they've got Atletico at home. West Ham away, Arsenal at home, Porto, at home, who they should beat because they thrashed Porto away. And Southampton at home. So it's a tricky group of fixtures for Liverpool in the Premier League.
Yeah.
So this is the thing for teams like City and United. That's where they can pounce on Liverpool's position
Yeah.
and try and go ahead of them.
When it's tricky in the Champions League for them as well. Then they got
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Atletico home and
Yeah,
away. That's key to them. Be key to them going
yeah.
forward as well. I know they've
But
got
they
a
also have a home game
healthy
against
base.
Porto up, in hand for them
Yeah, yeah.
to make up for it. But that being, because I think even Liverpool would be fine with finishing second in that group.
I suppose. Yeah.
They're not in a threat for going third.
No, saying keeping the top spot. But yeah.
But because I think Liverpool want to focus on trying to at least finish third in the Premier League, if not go for the win, depending on how the teams above them are playing.
Yeah, yeah.
Following on from Liverpool, Manchester City, currently third place. They have a home game against Burnley, away to Club Bruges. Once again, key fixture for City there. If Bruges managed to get a win there, I think that's basically City's qualification hopes done.
Quite possibly. Yeah.
In the UEFA Champions League. Brighton away, tough fixture again. West Ham away, tough fixture, and then
Yeah.
Crystal Palace at home, which they should do. West Ham away is also a Carabao Cup. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know how much City will care, but even a City B or C team are going to be pretty good at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that maybe depending on how much West Ham are carrying, which I assume is a bit because it's a cup for them. So
Yeah,
that could be a big difference there.
they've got Club Bruges to play, and they've got a Manchester derby coming up.
Oh, yeah.
They've got a home game against Everton, a home game against West Ham in the Premier League, and in between those two fixtures, they host Lionel Messi, Kylian Mbappe, and Neymar at the Etihad for a revenge fixture. I feel like
Yeah.
City, PSG are gonna go at them for the jugular here.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a very tough fixture. Hey, heck, you're playing Lionel Messi. Obviously, it's a very tough fixture.
Yeah.
So City have a tough month ahead and a tough group of EPL fixtures as well to go ahead. So they could. I don't think they're going to lose momentum just because they have such a deep squad and so many players competing. But there is a element of players a bit disgruntled because they're not getting enough game time at City,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that lack of striker, like a lack of striker in that game against potentially like Brighton away could hurt them. That lack of striker in that game against Manchester United, like they basically play Ronaldo and Messi in a fortnight.
Yeah.
So those two games could, that lack of striker could really hurt them. So City's season, if they basically lose out on Champions League, it could basically make it so that the league is everything for them at that point. Like if they have a season where they don't win the Champions League, don't win the Premier League, and potentially another English club wins the Champions League, that's gonna be hard to swallow, isn't it?
Yeah, that'd be a very bitter pill to swallow. I think.
Like I don't think cups will do it
No, no.
City at that point. Though they will probably win a cup. I'm not, I have no doubt about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Fourth place team, the other Manchester side. Manchester United have a very tricky fixture coming with Leicester away. And they have a home game against Atalanta, who are top of the table. A very tricky fixture. Liverpool at home, an incredibly tricky fixture, and Tottenham Hotspur away. Now, this is basically make or break for United. If they don't come away with the results here, they could basically say bye bye to the Premiership, like, competing for the Premiership
Yeah,
this
yeah.
season. They definitely need to beat Atalanta. If they can, that's a statement win. They need to be able to beat a club like Atalanta at home, and then hopefully, and then when they go to the return fixture in Atalanta, they need to try and win that fixture as well. They've got City at home, as we mentioned previously. So these are statement wins. Like they need to get wins again, because if United with these three fixtures where they don't have a Carabao Cup, so they don't have the congestion that the other clubs are facing next month. They only have
Yeah.
4 versus 5 fixtures. Those games where you've got Leicester, Liverpool, Spurs, and City in a row, 4 games of the 12 points. If they can manage to get about 8 points, that keeps them in the race. I think that's a very good return for facing a bunch of really good sides in the Premier League.
Yeah, yeah.
And not too far from that, they play Watford at Watford. which I don't know how Watford are going to be this season, but I feel like that's a game that United don't want to drop points. Like that's a game they could easily end up drawing just because Chelsea team seems to do that.
Yeah.
And they've got Villarreal away as well. Like that's a key fixture because United, I think, cannot rely on finishing third or finishing fourth this season. They need to stay in Europe. If they don't go far into the Champions League, a deep Champions League run, they need to win the Europa League this season.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
that doesn't happen, if they finish third, which is very possible. And then they've got Chelsea away, so they're yeah, so let's include Chelsea and Watford in there. You've got about 12 plus 6, 18 points on offer. They need to be getting at least 12 points, I want to
and,
say,
th-
of that.
and
12,
those
maybe
are
even 12 is not enough. Maybe 13, 14 points they need to get
that's a
of
lot
those.
of points with those fixtures as well. So I was looking at it, just thinking, those are some pretty tough fixtures away for some of them as well.
And I think Chelsea are going to have momentum as we've looked
Yeah,
at. Chelsea look like they've had the easiest schedule
yeah,
of that. Like City and United have a very tough schedule, and Liverpool have an okay schedule compared to City and United. I think Liverpool's schedule is reasonably tough, but yeah,
yeah. I think I prefer Liverpool's schedule over United or City's really,
yeah,
and obviously Chelsea's best of all.
yeah. But that's like the make or break. This is the make or break, and then because this is what sets them up for the silly season. If they don't get these results go their way, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer could get fired by the end of November,
Yeah,
depending on how those fixtures fall out. So that is how dire it is at United. Going out of the top four, we move on to Everton, who have. All right, let's just do the top six, just because I don't want to go all
yeah,
the way down to Spurs. And
yeah.
do we want to look at Spurs and Arsenal, especially just because they're quote
Why not?
unquote Super League clubs?
Yeah, let's look at them first. Then we'll do the top six plus Spurs and Arsenal.
Yeah, top six plus Spurs and Arsenal. So Everton only have two matches next month, so very good. They can easily get two wins from these matches: West Ham at home, Watford at home.
Yeah,
Winnable games. Wolverhampton away, winnable game again, and then they face Everton at sorry, they play Spurs at home. So
yeah,
four very winnable games, and if they're in that momentum that before they face City at the City ground, City of Manchester Stadium or the Etihad, that's going to be, that's going to give them their best chance to win. And then they play Brentford at Brentford. So there's two tough fixtures at the end of November, but because they have a very light schedule, they could go into the top four, especially if United drop points, and United could drop points. Even
yeah, yeah,
City could drop points, but looking
yeah.
at their schedule.
Exactly. No, I think you're right. Like Everton, it's tough games but winnable games for them.
Yeah.
And if they pick up their points, they're heading towards playing City. So they could be above City. City can drop their points. So United can drop their points. So yeah, Everton could definitely get into the top four. They're only goal difference behind. I mean, they
Yeah.
are on 14 points along with Brighton. So yeah, that's a definite possibility with that sort of schedule that they could be top four. If they could be top three or top two, really, almost. If Liverpool drop points as well, or Chelsea drop points.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Now Brighton, even though they are currently in sixth place, I'm gonna say that they are still targeting survival.
yeah,
And they're currently on 14 points out of 7 games, so they've done a good job. They play Norwich, which should be, and even that's a game they should try to win because that could, potentially relegation 6-pointer if they end up getting into a relegation scrap
yeah, yeah,
as the season progresses. Because they're gonna play some tough games after that. They've got their host Manchester City, and then they go play Leicester at Leicester, Liverpool at Liverpool before they come back to facing Newcastle at home. Villa at Villa, that's going to be a tough game, and Leeds at home.
yeah,
So there's very few points on offer there. So they need to try and get points from Newcastle. Need to try and get 3 points from Newcastle, 3 points
yeah.
from Norwich, three
Norwich.
points from Villa if they can, and 3 points from Leeds because
Yeah, yeah,
you know there's all these other top sides, quote unquote, that they're going to face. That's going to potentially, if they could get like Norwich and Newcastle and maybe another 3 points from somewhere else, that's 9 points with their to go with their 14, 23 points
that's
from
probably
23 points from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 plus. 13 games. That's pretty good. That would, I
That,
think they'd take that.
that would take that. That would be I mean, yes, I get that. They quite possibly will be still knocking on the doors of the top six there, or even
Yeah,
top,
yeah, yeah.
same goal difference, keeping them out of the top four. So I think that would be very, they're
This
setting
could
their
be a
season up very well.
very, very even at the top. And if we have a very poor Norwich this season, we could end up with a situation where 40 points is not enough
Yeah,
to avoid relegation. Like this could, I am feeling maybe even as high as 45 points might get you relegated
yeah. Ooh,
this season.
it is possible, as you say.
Because if Norwich drop a lot of points, like that's how the averages just end up working out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
If you have
yeah.
a very poor last place side, then you're needing
Everybody
to.
else is getting the points. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and the top clubs are dropping points as well, so that means mid-table clubs are getting a lot of points, and maybe even lower table clubs are getting a lot of points. So
yeah,
I'm just feeling it like it's going to be a tough relegate. Like if the top is unstable, the relegation battle is even more unstable, I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
Especially now that we know Newcastle are going to get good players in January to
yeah,
help
exactly.
them survive relegation. Like a bunch of players are just going to be given like 6-month contracts to play really well and earn their spot and come in on loan, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. They're just that's actually the point. There'll be a lot of lone players, I'm sure, because there'll be a bunch of players who aren't playing regular football, the whole Chelsea squad,
Yeah,
who maybe United, Newcastle United may be able to throw enough money at a loan deal to tempt them or tempt the clubs into letting them go there for, like, depending on, we're looking Europe wide, depending on how different um, Champions League and European campaigns are going, and if people are not clubs are not making it through that, then potentially, getting some people's salaries paid for you by going on
yeah,
loan
yeah.
to Newcastle is a good deal for you. You know, well, put in the clause that you can, cancel the loan if particular people get injured. Not have to pay for their things. Don't need the depth really, but you're only playing in the local league. Quite possible.
Yeah, I think also these players might not even need a clause like that for Chelsea because the squad is so deep. But
Mm,
if they were being loaned from like Manchester City, even
yeah,
wouldn't you? Like if Manchester City are in the Europa League, I'm not saying they will be, but if they manage to somehow fall that far, then I think a bunch of players I think Manchester City at that point would target the Europa League because that's a league they should win. That should be their statement to be like, at least we also won a European trophy
yeah, yeah,
this season. Like, if it'd be very difficult to guarantee a premiership
yeah,
if Manchester City are in the Europa League, like Raheem Sterling, who's not getting regular game time, or Riyad Mahrez, who's not getting regular game time, or Bernardo Silva, who's not regularly getting regular game time. One of those three players be loaned to Newcastle? That's a lot of goals. Not that I think
yeah,
they need wingers. That's a position they've got, but they've got Callum Wilson, who's a good striker. They've got Saint Maxim on one wing. If they get a
yeah,
Mahrez or a Sterling on another wing, or
yeah,
Sterling
yeah,
playing a false nine, that's suddenly a decent side. Maybe they just need to maybe loan in another midfielder, maybe Jesse Lingard
yeah, yeah,
try to go there, or maybe a Donny van de Beek decides to go there. There's a lot of possibilities here. I don't think United are going to loan players. Their squad is too shallow
yeah,
as it
yeah,
is. Same with Liverpool, but there's uh, there's clubs around Europe that potentially Barcelona we know can't afford to pay a lot of their players. Maybe they loan Pedri with the
yeah.
view to buy.
Why
Maybe.
not? Yeah,
Or if they loan Pedri, he plays a season in the Premier League. That's shopping him in the Premier League to go, hey guys, do you want to buy this guy? He's pretty good. We
yeah,
need
yeah,
money.
exactly. Yeah, actually, it's a good point. Yeah,
So, I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that there's always possibilities there.
yeah, yeah,
So, yeah, if you're a relegation club, like if Newcastle can get to at least about, I say, 18 points by the January transfer window, they can buy players to kind of guarantee themselves a survival. But
yeah,
that's just going to make it really hard for everybody else in the relegation battle, which we will get into. Um, Now, the Super League clubs who are not in the top six, the Gunners and the Lily Whites. So Arsenal face they've only got 4 games as well, even though they are still in the Carabao Cup. That's what happens when you don't have European football to worry about.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, do play. They've got Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Leeds at the for the Carabao Cup, and Leicester in the Premier League. These are all tough games. Crystal Palace, Aston Villa, Leicester, all clubs that will believe they can beat Arsenal and will try and get
yeah,
points off them. Watford at home is a game they desperately will need to win, and obviously they need to beat Newcastle at home. In between there, they've got an away fixture at Liverpool.
mm,
This is where Arteta's gonna have to be at his tactical best, because if he starts punching Liverpool, going on the jugular and going all attack, Klopp seems to want to do the same,
yeah,
and Liverpool seem to want to do the same.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So that is how you can potentially get a point at Liverpool, like the way Brentford did, or try and sneak away with a win. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Liverpool are too good for Arsenal. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I think Liverpool will beat Arsenal, and I think Leicester will beat Arsenal. So I think those games against Palace at home, Villa at home, Leeds at home, they're vital.
yeah,
Because if those games are losses, suddenly Arsenal's in the relegation hunt again.
yeah, oh, exactly. And like Crystal Palace and Aston Villa have been playing pretty good,
Good football,
and
yeah. And
despite
Aston
our
Villa have a good squad, and Leeds have a good squad.
Crystal Palace have a good squad.
Yeah,
Yeah, despite our motivational speech for Arsenal, I feel both those games at the beginning or through the rest of October are going to be damn hard for them. Like for Arsenal, they may
and
have had a bit of an uplift, but I don't see many points coming out of this.
in the North London League, I still don't see there being a St. Tottenham's Day this year. Which, by the way, if you're not a Spurs or Arsenal fan, St. Tottenham's Day is the day of the year where it becomes mathematically impossible for Spurs to catch up to Arsenal. It has not happened in the last, I think, 5 years of
No,
European
yeah,
last 5 seasons. But yes, Arsenal, I don't see a St. Tottenham's Day happening this season.
no, no,
And yeah, the Arsenal are going to be having a yeah, they could because Arteta's still so inexperienced. I think he's like at least with Nuno Espirito Santo, he's got I think a bit more tactical nous. Like there are
yeah,
games where
yeah,
I think Nuno will can get Spurs a win. I don't think there are. It's harder for Arteta to do that. I'm not saying
mm,
it's impossible. Arteta is still probably, but on the other hand, Spurs are still in Europe and Arsenal are not. So don't know how that will work out for them.
yeah,
Speaking of which, so Spurs, because they're outside the top six, if they win the Europa Conference League, the team that finishes sixth will not go through to the Europa League because Spurs will qualify ahead of them.
they'll go to the
Sorry, the
Conference League.
Europa.
The,
Sorry, the yeah, you're right. They'll go to the Conference League instead of going to the Europa League. Sorry,
yeah,
is what I meant to say. The
yeah,
team
yeah,
that finishes. Unless two key teams, so unless there's two clubs outside the top six win a cup and they're not in, and that can happen this season as well, given how competitive it is, and
yeah,
Spurs somehow win a Conference League and another English club win a Europa League. Yeah, it could totally happen that we have an English threefer in Europe. And also like two clubs outside the top six win the cups. So it basically means only the fifth place side. Sorry, the club finishing fifth could be in the Conference League.
yeah. It's a bit
That's
crazy.
entirely possible because I could
Yeah,
see Spurs winning the Conference League. I'm not being sarcastic here. I think they're probably the strongest team in the Europa Conference League
yeah, yeah,
after Roma,
exactly.
with
Yeah,
Mourinho's Roma. Or along with Mourinho's Roma, I should say.
yeah, yeah. We should
And
do an update on Roma after this, after Tottenham.
we should talk about Roma definitely. So Tottenham have Newcastle away, and I don't know how that game's going to go because Newcastle fans are going to be totally joyous. They've got Vitus Arnhem game away once again. While not an easy fixture, one Spurs should look to win because they should look
Mm,
to attempt to win the Conference League, and they've got West Ham away, which is a tough game. Burnley away, which is a tough game, and they're hosting Manchester United. So they have a tough month
yeah,
coming ahead for them. But the game against Vitus, game against Newcastle are winnable fixtures, and even though game against West Ham is a winnable fixture,
yeah,
and Spurs do tend to beat United at home, so that's that.
yeah, yeah,
Um, then they host Vitus. They go away to Everton, which is potentially a very tough game. They
yeah,
host Leeds, which once again it's a must win and it's a can win. So they should not. Then they face NS Mura and Burnley. So yeah, 10 games for Spurs, but I can see Spurs almost. Those are all winnable games for Spurs. Spurs could win every single Premiership game in that fixture list, and that
yeah.
would not surprise me at
That
all.
would be a little
And
surprising given their form so far. The fact that they were that consistent over that period of time.
I
But
think it would just basically be if Harry Kane suddenly just goes, all right, I'm gonna play now.
yeah, yeah. I've got over my little sulking about I'll be able to go to the city. I'll actually play football for Spurs now. It's fine. Yeah, look, see how good I am.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. I got you a Conference League. There you go, a European trophy. How
Can
many
I
of
go?
those have Arsenal won in the last X number of years?
Can I go to city now, please?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But now looking at the quote unquote more interesting side of the table, we have Norwich, Newcastle, Burnley, Southampton. I think very much so in the relegation dog hunt, and
Yeah.
Leeds United as well.
Yeah.
I think Leeds have a good squad, and they're going to be tough to beat.
Mm.
Um,
They're looking like they're doing well enough so far in the season to almost be out of the dog hunt.
yeah,
Like
I
the
think
very limits of it. They're
that
3 points
game
clear, I don't
against
think. So
that game against Southampton is vital.
yeah.
Um, obviously they have a tough game against Wolves as well, though they should at home do well. If they lose that game against Arsenal and don't have to worry about the Carabao Cup anymore, they've got another 6 pointer against Norwich. They've got a tough game against Leicester,
Yeah.
Spurs, as we mentioned, and Brighton, which is once again Brighton want to guarantee survival, so they might see that as a 6 pointer.
Yeah.
That that said, six Premiership fixtures there. Leeds, I think at least should get the one against Norwich and
Yeah.
maybe the one against Wolves. Then
Well, at least the
yeah,
draw against Wolves was there at
yeah,
home. So
even a couple of draws here and there.
yeah.
Then if they can get 6 points in total from those fixtures, that might. Then again, it might not be enough. Like I said, Newcastle are probably going out
Yeah.
of that if they buy the players that they're, or at least they're going to change things up. So this is
Well,
the
it's
thing.
I think 6 points there is keeping themselves ahead of Southampton far enough and Burnley and Norwich. Like that's well Burnley.
Yeah,
I mean that's
they just have,
the game for them, right? Is keep ahead of the people below you.
that's
They're
right.
currently got a whole win buffer,
Is it?
pretty much.
I think you're right, and I think I'd be more worried if I were Burnley because I've
Mm.
got City. They've got a 6 pointer again with Southampton. Southampton, if they can beat Leeds and Burnley, that's I think that's puts a big
Well,
shot in the arm. They might even push up to mid-table
and
from there.
both of those at home over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
yeah.
yeah. But that's a very. I know it's early in the season, but that's a key moment for them.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely. And I think from there you've got, but Burnley basically they've got City away that they're going to lose that. I'm not.
yeah,
Southampton 6 pointer, which is very losable. Spurs at home. Once again, Spurs are no easy beats, and Spurs are gonna fight them.
that's Carabao
Um,
Cup though. So
yeah, Carabao Cup, but I think they might even be happy to lose that game. But then Brentford at home, once again, not an easy fixture. Chelsea away,
yeah,
um, Crystal Palace at home, and then Spurs at home again. Yeah, that's a tough group of fixtures. And
that is tough for Burnley.
If I could even see Burnley not get a point. from
Yeah.
those games. So if obviously if
That,
that happens, they're relegated. And obviously, I never count out Sam Dyche. Well,
yeah.
if you are the Saudi Arabian owners of Newcastle, do you get somebody like uh, somebody like Sam Allardyce for 6 months just to keep them from getting relegated, and then bring in Conte next season, new start,
Mm, that could be an interesting way. I guess it's yeah. I don't know.
temporary
Just
manager? I'm just
because
obviously
how likely are
spitballing.
you to get? Yeah, how likely is it still get Conte in June? I guess is the
I
answer.
think
Or
if
do
they
you?
sign a pre-contract with Conte and just be like, look, we don't want you to be tainted with if we don't get relegated, come to us.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe that
This
works.
way you're not, it doesn't hurt your record. You got a club relegated.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose there is that.
I don't know. I don't think Conte would care. I think Conte would back himself.
Yeah, I think so too.
Now, if this is Newcastle's fixtures all change. If Conte is the manager next week, everything changes. Almost
Yeah,
pretty much everything changes. We're gonna have a bunch of people tried out at the wing back position, right? We're gonna have a bunch
yeah,
of people tried out in the back three. I'm almost certain they're gonna look to try and get a goalkeeper on loan. I don't know who, but they're gonna try.
yeah.
Maybe Keylor Navas from PSG,
Maybe
because he's
that could work.
obviously incredibly good.
Yeah, yeah,
But they have Donnarumma, who's like obviously better. Like,
yeah,
but yeah, Keylor Navas is incredibly good, and he's somebody who can like help you fight, and is like been there, done that sort of player. They've got, but again, Newcastle play Spurs. If it's Conte versus Spurs, that's a very with Nuno, that's going to be a very interesting fixture.
yeah,
But so I'm gonna assume Conte is in charge, or somebody like Sam Allardyce is in charge. I don't think Steve Bruce is there. Just,
no,
just not happening.
no, he's going to be
Uh,
gone in days. Like
yeah, yeah,
I was looking before, I was sort of surprised he hasn't already gone. Like
yes. So Newcastle, uh, the with Crystal Palace away, Chelsea away. So we're probably looking at while it's an interesting fixture and everything like that, Newcastle with playing Spurs at home, that might be their first win, under the new regime. But then playing Crystal Palace away might be a loss, and then obviously I think hosting Chelsea need to win this game.
yeah,
Obviously, Chelsea starts dropping points to Newcastle. We're seeing a bunch of Chelsea lose its advantage, like a relatively easy run in before the
yeah, yeah,
thing.
exactly. I think
Uh,
you're right. That's just Chelsea can't drop that. So
Yeah, and then they've got Brighton at home. They've got Brighton away, which is like a tough fixture, hosting Brentford, and then they're playing Arsenal away. So it's not easy for Newcastle. Whoever their new
no,
manager is gonna have to earn their stripes, I think. And if it's like I said, if it's a Conte, a bunch of people will be tried out in the wing back position, and like they're gonna change their entire style of play.
yeah,
Allardyce
yeah,
might be a bit easier, but if they are going to try a bunch of different things and have a whole new different style of play, that first month in October could be tough, but then they might be hitting their stride in November, which would be very difficult for Brighton, Brentford, and Arsenal.
yeah,
Like, yeah, you could go from like 0 points in October to like 9 points in November, and
yeah,
like,
yeah.
they're getting there in a canter. That could just be Newcastle's season.
That could be. And yeah, who knows? As
And
you say,
like,
it's all up in the air. But
And with Newcastle guaranteed to like at least get a change in manager and a bunch of new players come in January,
yeah,
I think it's just tough for Norwich to get up, right? Like they have to hope Burnley, Southampton, and Leeds have a really tough run of form and they hit some form. They have to play Brighton at home. Like they need to win that game.
yeah,
100%. They've got Chelsea away. Like if Chelsea lose to Norwich and Newcastle, that's I think almost giving Liverpool the lead.
yeah.
in
No,
the
that
Premier
definitely
League.
is.
Like that's just so I'm not. I don't think that's gonna happen. By the way, at all. I'm just like saying that that is like one of the things. And then Norwich are playing because it's a banana peel game. Like right?
Yeah. Both those are banana peel games for Chelsea. And
And then they've got Leeds to play. That's a 6-pointer. If they can beat Leeds, Norwich, and then even if they get a point against Brentford, and then if they manage to somehow beat Southampton, like, suddenly
yeah,
the whole relegation battle takes a whole turn. So I wouldn't lose hope as a Norwich fan, because that's again, I think Newcastle are gonna shake things up, and a bunch of teams could lose drop points, lose momentum, and then face Norwich,
yeah,
including Newcastle, who they
yeah,
first happens to be their first game in December, but we'll not go that far into it. But even then, playing Wolves, like Wolves are a team that I think they're ninth. Like everybody who's below Arsenal, and I think, and also Arsenal probably are not guaranteed to not be in the relegation scrap. Like I think apart from maybe Leicester, who I think will shoot up
yeah.
as the season progresses, but Leicester. Yeah, but yeah, other than Leicester, I think all those teams could all easily fall into, at least for a while, struggling for. And Arsenal's already struggled for relegation at some
Yeah.
point this season.
Yeah. No, I agree that because we're talking. I know Brighton's all out with 14 points, but I think we're rightfully talking about Brighton. Some of these games being potential 6 pointers because
Yeah,
like their season's not gonna probably not going to keep going as well as it has been. So they'll start stalling at some point, which may mean they get close to the relegation fight, especially as you say with all these points that could potentially be up, so that the relegation threshold is going to be a bit higher. Like they've done well because
yeah,
they're closer to that whatever magic number it is already.
yeah,
But yeah. But I mean, the wheels might come off Brentford as well. They could
yeah,
crash down. Aston Villa,
yeah.
possible. Like yeah, I think you're right. Norwich, it's been a dreadful start to the
Yes.
season, but I think
A lot
Norwich
of
fans,
teams have had dreadful starts, and
yeah,
things are wibbly wobbly. But once again, I think it's gonna be tough. I think you will need at least 45 points. Might get still get you relegated this season.
yeah. So I think it'll be very tough for Norwich. Uh, but the Great Escape's going
But
to
we've
start
looked,
somewhere.
yeah, and we've plotted their potential path to a great escape.
Yeah,
I don't think it's happening, but it exists at least.
it does
And
exist.
at this point, with the number of relegation 6-pointers in their schedule, it is still in their own hands. If they win those games, and those guys don't win games, against higher tiered opponents, you are suddenly in the driving seat.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, but all right, and like I said, if that does happen, it will really throw a wrench into things because you're probably getting the most even distribution of points for a while. That's happened in the Premier League
Yeah,
at
I'd say.
all levels, and yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
I for one hope it happens because I think 45 points to get you relegated might actually get Arsenal relegated, and that would be fun.
That would be fun.
That would make me laugh.
That would make it all worthwhile.
Oh yeah. I don't care if United don't qualify for Europe at all and are like, not playing in any of the leagues or any of that. If Arsenal get relegated, that would be funny enough that I'd go, okay, that
You accept that future.
I'll accept that feature. Also, on the proviso that also the Champions League final is between Sheriff, Tiraspol, and Young Boys or Club Brugge.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be fine as well. I'd accept that too. It's, enough of a wacky.
Only because that would be so funny on Fiorentino Perez. Like these clubs are boring; they shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
now Mourinho Watch. At one point
Mourinho
in the
Watch.
season, Mourinho looked like he was about to revolutionize and get Roma into their first Serie A title since the glory days of Hideyoshi Nakata and um, uh, in the I believe it was in the 2001 season, but could be 2000.
Yeah.
And Totti, Francesco Totti as well. That was the other player whose name was escaping me because, I'm an idiot. But
Yeah.
the Mourinho managed to bring his boy Abraham
Yeah.
in on loan to Roma, and he somehow managed to lose a very close encounter against Lazio, and had said some. Had decided to have a team meeting in the middle of the pitch, while the Roma and Lazio fans managed to growl and scream at them. So I don't. So he's still Mourinho, is what I'm saying. He's
Yeah.
like he celebrated with the Roman pizza after his first win in the league, but so far 7 games, 5 wins, 2 losses. So he's definitely still in with a shout. They've got an incredibly important fixture coming up against Juve, who are not even in the top four at the moment. 7 games with 3 wins, 2 draws, and 2 losses. Lots of people thinking the problem at Juve was Cristiano Ronaldo. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're winning
And
everything at the moment. So.
yeah, and so the other loss he had was against Hellas Verona, the 1986 Serie A champions.
Yeah.
But I believe he's not lost a game at home yet, so that's good. He's also managed to get a win in the Conference League, so including a impressive 5-1 win against CSKA Moscow.
Oh yeah.
So back in the day, who were perennial competitor, not competitors, but perennially taking part in the Champions League. Well, no longer.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this is a that could be. How do we like the chances of how do we like the chances of Roma? Like, I think Roma can easily qualify for a Champions League spot this season. I think that's in their hands. That's definitely
Yeah.
something Mourinho will be able to deliver for them. 6 points behind Napoli already after 7 games. Is that too far? Napoli are undefeated, by the way, 100%, managing to get
Yeah. Yeah.
21 points in their 7 games.
I
So 15 goal difference.
I think the thing there to me is just how good Napoli's looking. Um,
Yes, I agree.
like, it, yes, Mourinho could catch them if Napoli stopped being as good as they are. But I just doesn't seem likely at the moment.
Like,
So
they have a tough group of fixtures coming up as well. Like, they've got Juve coming up, Cagliari at away, which means they have to travel all the way to Sardinia for that. Cagliari, I should say. Blah.
yeah,
And obviously they're playing Napoli at home. That's a must-win. If followed by that, they've got AC Milan at home.
yeah,
Another tough game. Obviously, they've got a bunch of Europa Conference League games. I'm just gonna assume Roma's winning their Europa Conference League games. Okay,
yeah, yeah,
just B squad, C squad, whatever. But yeah, they've playing Venezia, Genoa. Those are obviously away. The Roma has not been as good away from home as we've mentioned. So
yeah,
they want to try and improve their away form, and then they're hosting Torino, which I think they're gonna win against Torino at home. Um, so yeah, Juve away could be another away loss. Just looking at that, that feels like a banana peel for Mourinho there.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's
so it looks very tough for him to win, to catch up to Napoli. Let's looking at
yeah,
Napoli's run of fixtures coming up. They've got Torino at home, which I think they can win. Legia Warsaw in the Europa League. I think Legia Warsaw are a very good side in the Europa League level, but I think Napoli are like, a team that generally always play in the Champions League, so there's a difference
Yeah, yeah,
there. They've got, we mentioned there's that clash against Roma, and I think
yeah,
Napoli are gonna be obviously trying their best to win that game. They'll be up for it. If they play Bologna at home, once again, I feel like that's a win.
yeah,
There's Salernitana, who I think are one of the clubs who got promoted from Serie B. So Napoli, even though it's a away fixture, they should win that. They play Hellas Verona, who beat Roma, but I think Napoli will beat them. Inter away could be a tough game. That's probably actually the top of the table clash. Like which of the one of those two teams will win the league if they uh, are going to be one of the. I think if there isn't, if Napoli don't run away with it, it'll be Inter or AC Milan that are fighting them for that
yeah,
spot.
yeah.
That makes
Looks
sense.
like, yeah, AC is the one that's keeping closest track of them
Yeah,
there.
but I
Inter's
feel
starting
like
to
AC
fall,
is
but
going to sell a bunch of players to potentially to a bunch of clubs in the January
yeah, yeah,
market.
yeah, yeah. There is
Um,
that. They still need
balance their
to
books.
balance this box a bit. Yeah, so I think
And
Inter's
so does
okay
Inter.
enough.
So this is why I think Napoli are a bit better off. Like Napoli's
Yeah, yeah.
owner is rich and has been spending money wisely.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So
and I
that could
think,
actually make an interesting impact there. They say it's not good. Napoli's going to storm ahead. They're not going to
mm,
be impacted. But yeah, how does it impact the two Milan clubs? And how the things, how much do they have to, who do they have to get rid of?
yeah,
Or who can they hang on to over January while still keeping the books balanced? So,
yeah. And there
so I
isn't a
think,
big silly season, I don't think, in this Serie A. I think
no,
they
no.
basically have a winter break after, so they play a game,
Yeah,
Napoli play a game on the 23rd, and then they have a winter break till January the 7th.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I think it'll be similar for all the other clubs. Um,
I
so
suppose
it,
there's potentially a little bit of a congestion at the end of January then. We got, I was looking at Roma's schedules. We got Milan on the 7th of January, Juventus on the 10th of January, Cagliari on the 17th. So that's three within, no, it's not too bad, 3 within 10 days, but a little
yeah,
congestion.
I mean that's compared by Premier League standards,
Yeah, yeah,
that's breezy.
that's not too bad.
Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, I think the those Serie A title, I think, in our first season for Mourinho, but he usually doesn't do it in the first season, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
Second, first season's little horse, second season's winner.
Yeah,
Third
yeah.
season's
I
crazy.
mean, I think though he could finish second if the Milan clubs drop points, sell
Yeah,
players,
yeah,
what?
yeah. I think yeah, second's definitely doable. First relies on Napoli to stumble big enough, and for Roma to find a bit more consistency away from home to be in position to capitalize.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking like top four is definitely say it's within their control.
And there's nothing saying that Roma will not get a few good players in the January transfer window, especially as I'm sure uh, Mourinho loves having Chris Smalling in the middle of his defense.
Yeah,
And he's got Mkhitaryan, Henrik Mkhitaryan, and Tammy Abraham, a bunch of players he's worked with before, and I think he can look to get the best out of.
yeah,
Yeah, there's definitely potential for Mourinho to go up the thing, but like I said, I think Napoli just look too good.
yeah.
Syria, the first Syria for Napoli since Diego Maradona was at the club.
Oh yeah,
Wouldn't that be incredible? Just a
that'd be
year
very
after
good.
the great man passes away.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty awesome. But
But
a bit of daring to dream.
yeah, yeah. Whereas yeah, I think Napoli are stacked. That for a Serie A
Yeah.
club, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll obviously see as the season progresses. But yeah, he's about exactly where I expected Mourinho to be with Roma.
Yeah.
Would that be fair?
Yeah. This is pretty much where I was definitely expecting him to be. I think this was a bit of my prediction.
Yeah.
Was I was expecting
Well,
him to be fourth, maybe third or second
and
by the end of the season. It seems to be on track for that. So.
I think also Juventus and Atalanta are gonna make their way into the top four somehow. So Roma have to be careful they don't drop points. They need
Oh
to
yeah.
really try and get push up because
Yeah. They can't
if
rest
the
on their
Milan
laurels there.
clubs go out of the thing, we know that Atalanta and Juve are the guys who are gonna go after them,
Yeah, yeah.
and
I mean,
Lazio
they're
as
only
well.
and these teams they're on 11 points. They're only 4 points behind Roma.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
But
as you
yeah,
say, can't rest. Got a little bit of sorting out those away fixture woes, but I think we'll be fine.
yeah, and Atalanta are always, they always are clever
Yeah,
with what they do. So yeah, definitely expect them to go up the table. I don't know if they will finish top four, but yeah, definitely. They losing that game against Milan has probably hurt them.
yeah,
But but hey, if they're planning on winning the Champions League,
yeah. That's the thing for both Juventus and Atalanta is that they do have Champions League
yes,
distractions, but they've also got a Champions League to deal with. So
yeah, and Inter as well.
and oh yes, and Inter as well,
So
and
yeah,
and AC. But I mean that appears to be much less of a
concern
ongoing concern.
for them. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Anyways, I think that's all we have time for now.
definitely.
We'll definitely be talking to you guys a bit more, but I think for now, we'll say goodbye and thank you for listening.
See you next time.